good morning to you. Welcome to Asake Online. My name is Zenzele Ndebele, and this is the Breakfast Club, the show where we talk about politics, current affairs, and everything that happens in our city and in our country. It's a few days before in-nomination court, and I know and abantu ba busy. We are anticipating with who's going to be nominated, where, and of course we are already full gear for election season. We expect that after in-nomination court, everyone will be going out campaigning, and I hope you now know where your ward is, where your polling station is, where you're going to be voting, because the new delimitation boundaries shifted a lot of areas. And uzabukabanga ukuthi ward 5 kati ward 20 and ward 20 kati ward 17, because there have been a lot of boundaries or new boundaries that have really got us confused, and a lot of people still don't know in which ward they belong. And I encourage you to take interest to know in which ward you are, which is your polling station, and all those kind of things. Because on voting day, I anticipate a situation where a number of people are not going to be voting because they would have turned up in the wrong polling station. Anyway, today in the Breakfast Club, we want to talk about the city. Kwenzakala nedorobheni, kuyini okungalungiseka, kuyini osingakwenza ukuthi we restore the pride ekaBulawayo, because we used to know ukuthi Bulawayo lidorobhe lihlanzekileyo, lidorobhe elimangalisayo. Osinxa uvele ePlumtree ekhaya ngalo ngene eBellevue kuhle uqasa ukunuka amabhanzi lesinkwa. These days kunuka okunye lakho. But anyway, our guest is ubabu Ambrose Sibindi. He's the chairperson for Bulawayo Progressive Residents Association, abayibiza besitting eBPRA. We want to know ukuthi bona njengezakhamizi balibona njani idorobho. Babu Sibindi, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Very good morning to everyone.
Yeah. So maybe we start in chairperson weBPRA. You've been a chairperson for a while. Over the past few years, what are some of the changes that you have seen at Ndebele?
Well, the truth of the matter is that I've seen a lot of changes, but unfortunately, I've seen most of these changes going the negative way instead of the positive way. Let me start talking about the issue of water. I think it's critical. Each and every person these days talks about water wherever they are. We all realize that we're having serious challenges of water. First, we're on shedding or on water rationing, which is not really a big issue because we're getting water almost daily, although our ration was down. But now the worst issue is that we're on water shedding. That one is a problem. We're told that according to the schedule, council is supposed to shed water for 3 days in a given area. But for other reasons best known to council, we are seeing that some areas go even for more than a week, some even 2 weeks without water. That's a serious challenge. This I've observed. Also, let's come into the issue of waste management. I want to talk about waste management. We are very much aware that in the high-density suburbs and the eastern areas, now we are seeing there is some, it's better off because they collect weekly and less on a serious challenges that council may face. But my worry is on the CBD, Central Business District. If you go there, you'll find that the area is very filthy. Look at these sanitary lanes, which we call the alleys, some call them alleys. They are full of waste. People are just dumping there. So those are issues which are also a problem, which we may detail, which I will detail later why we think it's happening that way. Look at the roads. In all honesty, some areas when you are now driving to a given area, you must try and think before you get there. We even use longer routes because we are avoiding getting to a certain place. And again, these are challenges. I want to believe that even some accidents, they happen just because of these roads. These are serious issues that we are also facing. Well, even the issue of electricity, although this one falls in the ZESA hands, it's another problem that people are facing. For instance, these few past days, we're being shaded for almost 16 hours. And what happens to a person who's on load limit? That person was made to pay full amount at the end of the month, but in actual fact, there's no service. So amongst issues, these are serious issues that we need to talk about, which residents are worried about. And it is our hope and prayer that possibly one day the good Lord will intervene. And of course, this goes beyond council. Now it goes straight to the central government. Look at the industry. The change that I've seen is that each coming day or passing day, we're having serious challenge of industries closing or scaling down on production. What does that mean? It means that the city, in terms of the GDP, is going down. So those are issues that I have observed, which residents are very much concerned about.
Yeah, you mentioned quite interesting issues, industry and all these kind of things, and the way which, if you look at the city hall in 1983 picture corner and city hall now, it's a lot different. It looked better then. Kwakulama flowers, kwakuthelelwa. And we look at our park, Centenary Park, how it looks like now. There's not been any, improvement whatsoever, although things have changed. Are we failing as a city to properly plan and budget for these issues?
I will say, I think we are failing to some extent. But as a city again, we need to understand that the councils or local authorities, they are quasi organs of central government. I think some of these things, in particular the industry, it goes beyond the Bulawayo City Council. And again, the other challenge is that when you get investors, say council goes out, or the mayor or the town clerk goes out, gets some investors. The other challenge that we have is that the policies that we have as a country, it's very difficult for those investors to come direct to Bulawayo and say they want to invest. They also must go via the central government. To me, again, that's a challenge. I want to be very clear, because some people have got no confidence in the central government. It's a fact. They may be having some interest in the city of Bulawayo, but they are failing to have they are not having some confidence in the central government. So they'll obviously shy away in the process. But the truth of the matter is, we are also failing to plan as a city. Why? I think as the Bulawayo City Council, they need to engage an economic officer who will try by all means to market the city. Because this city can be marketed, that I can tell you. Yes, we may not get to where we were, but I think we can improve. So in short, I'm saying I think we are failing to get to where we're supposed to get to. We need experts, not only one person, but a team of them. Not only employed by council. I want to believe that they can come up with a committee, some from the business sector, some from these civil society people. You bring these both together and have a strong committee that will call an ad hoc committee to try and enhance people to come and invest here. I think we may move a given direction. Because if it's only council, it becomes the problem. And if it's only councillors, indeed, they're also politicians, it becomes the problem. And there is a town clerk alone in the management. Some people may not be, maybe have some issues with the town clerk or the management, will have problems. But if you bring people from different walks of life, possible, some people may be attracted and have confidence in the city and something can happen.
Yeah, one of the issues that I always find depressing, in every corner, we now have a rank. Anyway, I'm not someone who goes out at night. There was a time when I went, I think it was a week ago, I think I phoned you.
Yeah.
I went to a trade gold. It was like, I've seen that in East Africa. I never knew that Bulawayo turns into that at night. Yeah. Where is the problem?
Well, as you are saying, I think Bulawayo City Council is failing to plan properly. I think what we've got to understand is that we are living in a global village whereby things change every day. Surely for somebody who wants to go to Harare, somebody wants to go to Gwanda, Beit Bridge, you want to tell that person to go to Erengine Makokoba. Somebody say, no, I'll not get there. Some people already, when you're talking about Makoba, they think that their wares may be stolen, their luggage may be stolen. And people don't have the time to be walking to Makokoba when actually they're in the CBD. So I'm saying, council should now come up with a plan and say, yes, we've got the ranking. But they must come up with another place or another rank at a convenient place around the city to try and keep what you're saying. Because failure to do that, the buses, this which you're talking about, they are there for business. And obviously, when people go and stand by the Centenary Park there, a bus will not worry itself by going to Rengin. It will go for those people. Whether you find them $2, they'll pay, but they make more money. Somebody wants to go to Harare. When the people are standing by the gum trees there, that is First Avenue and that terminus, people will go there. So council now need to plan and see that where are the interests of the people. People no longer want to go to the ranking. They come up with another rank. Let me talk about what they're talking about. Go to trade gold there in the evening, as we are saying, from about 8 o'clock to around 12 midnight. Buses will be picking people from there. And the question is, are those buses paying to council? So that's a revenue that is lost. And as a city, we are saying we are broke. Fair and fine, we are broke. But we are also failing to chip in and bring in the monies that we are supposed to bring. And those are evening buses. You can even charge them more. Even if you say, let's have 2 council workers manning those buses, of course, the rates will change in terms of salary. But even though we are saying charge those buses more because they're also working at the awkward time, and they'll pay, mind you, those buses fill up every day going to Harar. So the challenge here is that council is really failing to come up with innovative plans to make sure that they address the current issues. Why those buses went there is because council was was too slow in thinking. So they have shown that no, you're failing, we'll come out with our own ways. So that one I squarely put the blame on council.
Yeah, because this links with the so-called Godin project, which was supposed to also act as a long-distance bus. For for everyone in Zimbabwe, even Ematebele and West, at one point, sonke seske zafike Goli, sonke seske zafike Park Station. At any given point, when you get to Park Station, you want to kuhlale, kulama facilities, kulama toilets, kuyadliwa. Abantu bonke bona bana babethengisa begada kwampane chicken in ebusuku bachamela nga.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Iqiniso lihle. Mana ngendlela kuyena le egodini ke ngingakangeni kule ama toilets. Yabona issue egodini is a very painful one. Ama reasons amaningi, I think is clear. Their position is very clear. They were saying, I think the person who was given the contract has failed to perform. And their position is very clear. Cancel the contract. What's difficult? Because no one can take cancel or the litigation process because these guys have failed to meet the deadlines. I don't know how many times. They go on air, we'll be doing this on this day. I know the last time they were talking about April last year. I remember very well. Nothing was happened. I'm not sure of the later. You even lose the forecast and lose their track, what they are now talking about. So I think it should be cancelled. Then let's go back to the issue of that's the big issue. Obviously, they use the center lanes. They use the street because it will be at night. Those are challenges. And as the residents of Bulawayo, we're in a potential danger of us conducting some unnecessary diseases. And those people who are using those lanes and the streets, they bought those buses and go. Mind you, I'll tell you one secret, what you must understand. Some of those people come using a night bus. They come to Bulawayo in the morning, they are here. They do whatever they are doing. They do their business. They make their orders. They do everything. In the evening, they jump the same bus. They go back. So whatever happens to Bulawayo, they don't care. Whether there's an outbreak of cholera, who will be affected as residents and not them. And we are saying the council must come up with a system to try and control that so that at least those people, a proper rank is put at a convenient place so that we have those facilities. Agubele toilet, agubele bathrooms, and let those people pay. Not only for free, let them pay. It will assist, we get money, but at the same time we maintain the cleanliness of the city. Because at the moment it's just terrible.
So before we move on, suka kombana ku 6 Avenue kule rank and there's rank every corner anyway. The other time ngathi mbona ngale where Evelyn sekule rank everywhere. Then there's also the issue of 6 Avenue. Lemchov.
Yeah.
And still there's no toilet again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, Mr. Ndebele, that if the reasons are clear, that council must cancel that contract for Ecotin. Because the issue of the 6 Avenue that I talk about is a problem because now those guys have got nowhere to go. But if that place was functional, those combs would be there. And there are all the facilities, there were toilets and everything there. So the challenge is on the issue of Ecotin, and we are saying council need to act. Councillors must act this time around. They just have to cancel that because at the moment it's very correct what you are saying. Abantu labana batshona khona bana bayadla bephosela amaphepha phansi beqeda apho bengena emkotweni bezincedisa khona bana bethamza emkotweni abanye they even go more than that. Uthole umuntu ekhupha ibhurugwe phansi ezihlikihla because uthole ilanga ngoba utayinga. When nature calls, you can't do anything. But we are saying we can't blame those people alone, but also council must come up with a plan. Issue amarengo nalo icho. Go to Evelyn, as we are saying, Katese as we speak. Amapasota, Kwanda, Mutare, Maswingo, go ngale magamtini Harare, uyela bana ulobe ngola street. That have ngomuzu little self masocha of Victoria for some pasa kona. But I'm saying, all to me, that's man that council can rake in by having a proper place where those buses will come from, and then make sure that they enforce those their bylaws. But now it's difficult to enforce those bylaws because and it makes sense to anyone who's in business. So I think council really need to pull up their socks. But the issue got in, no, it's getting out of hand. And I hope councillors are listening. Before really their term ends, I think they'll try something and make sure that they cancel that thing.
Yeah, because a long time, I mean, rank a while ago, it made sense because Google my industry, abantu babe chai service rankini, they'll buy stuff there.
Yes.
It's now
Yeah.
so no one would want to walk a rankini
What for?
where someone's but also the other challenge that we have, Mr. Sibindi, town lapha as residents, now there are vendors everywhere. Has City Council failed to have proper places where people do the vending?
All right, I think that's a good one. I'll start from a background that I talked about. Issue of vending is definitely out of hand. The reasons are very clear why we're having vendors all over. They'll tell you that in Zimbabwe at the moment, they're saying people who are formally employed is less than, it's around 8%. That's a survey that was done by some other institutions. Having said that, meaning to say that Bulawayo was the hub of industry in Southern Africa. Obviously, now it's not so. What does that mean? All those boys who were offloaded from these industries, they're trying their living way through vending. And the truth of the matter is, at the moment, a council cannot accommodate everybody. That one is a fact. That is in the CPT, get me right. So, council must have some other innovative ways of trying to attract, have these shops spread around the city. So at least you attract some vendors to go there. Go to Kelvin. There's a market somewhere there. I've seen of late, people are flocking that place. So it's a way of removing them from the city center to that place. But now, control vending. I think there are bylaws that are there. That one is a fact. But they are no longer being used. Let me talk, I'll be very open here and say things as they are. Go to 5th Avenue from Lobengula Street up to around Robert Mkabe or Josiah Tongokara there. Look at what's happening in that street. Even if you are driving a car, you can't drive there now. Because those people have just taken over. In fact, they've invaded that street. It's now their street. Let me use that word. Council has lost it. Council is no longer in control. Those who are doing as they want. And it's public information that those people who are in that street vending there, they're not paying anything to council. But public knowledge says they are paying something to individuals. They are individuals, political figures who have tried to take over that place, and now they are making people pay. Council tried to intervene. Council has failed because those guys, they belong to, well, I'll be very frank, that guy posts that he is a member of a ruling party. The guy who's running that show. He says, I'm a member of a ruling party, you can't touch me. So the politics has come into play, and as a result, people are doing as they want. But now, let's come to this. The waste that is generated in that street, those who are not paying anything to council. Ugogo osemakhokoba, ugogo oseminyela, osemabuthweni, osephumla old, oseluveve old, ngibala indaba ezindala ngabomo, okulabo gogo abangasenelisi ukuzenzela. Who are struggling. Yibo ababhadala ama-costs to clear that waste. To me, that's a serious issue. And as residents who are not happy at all, we must be very clear to everyone with the council mustn't allow, that thing must come to a stop. And all other stakeholders. Even the resident minister must come into that thing. If council is failing, the resident minister must also come in and do something. The minister of local government must come in and do something. Because we cannot allow that situation whereby vele sithwele nzima abantu behle ukubhadala ama-bills abo, but ama-budget ahlala abantu becomplain ama-budgets because they are funding a cost that is generated deliberately by people who are illegal. So these are serious challenges. Not only that, the next thing that will happen, what people must know and understand is that abantu asozithutha abantu balamehlo bahlakaniphile. A day will come, lamenza afika, labama abantu. Ngithi hayi, lina lithetha 5 nase ngithatha 6. Yabona Joburg Road lo, ngimthatha ongefaka ama-vendor ngekho nalo. After that, another person again will say mina sengithatha 9th Avenue. We may take it lightly, but we are sitting on a time bomb, whereby at the end of the day, that city will not be a city, it will be something else. So we are saying, council, with all that, the therapy, they must act in that particular place and remove those people. And why these people are all over the show is, again, there are no toilets, mind you. We all know that during those good days, council vendors used to be around 5th Street there and 5th, because they are toilets. But they were not stretching all over the show. So we are saying our lives are in danger again because of that issue. Issue of cholera now, which we are talking about. With that congestion that I am seeing, we are having serious challenges. So to me, issue of uncontrolled vending is just getting out of hand. It needs to be addressed as a matter of urgency.
You know, the moment we talk about it, I get scared because, so let's say roughly we have about 2,000 vendors selling street in Japan along 5th Avenue. and someone is getting $1 from each, that's 2,000 that is going to someone's pocket who's not a council official, who's not providing any service. We have ama-space baro ama-emshikashika ama-on the feet. There's someone who's collecting money from those buses and not council. So council is losing all this revenue and they seem not to be worried about it.
Yes, that is the reason why at times residents are blamed to say that they are resisting when it comes to budget time. Do you know why some of residents seem to be resisting some of these budgets? It's because of those issues that they're talking about. And from my small calculation and what you are saying, I can safely say council is losing around $5,000 a day. Simple when I'm just making my small calculation. But if really we can have an institution that is good in research, go and make a research there, they may even come out with a very big figure. And that's why we are saying as residents that council must do something, because if council can rake in that money into council covers, say 5,000 every day, that's money to us. It will assist here and there to improve the issue of service. Now council is talking about that even the issue of refuse collection trucks. They are saying they don't have them. They are very minimal that they have. But if you look at that money, you collect it for the month, how much is it? I know in the next two months they can purchase another vehicle. In a year, they can purchase 5. These are small things that council must think seriously and make sure that they act to avoid. And again, but let me also talk about the issues of Z-therapy. I think council must engage Z-therapy. Unfortunately, everybody is corrupt in this country. That's the unfortunate part. The majority of us are very corrupt, even if we're in these good offices. The mishikashikas that you're talking about, if you can go vehicle by vehicle and try and find out who is owning which vehicle, they will be shocked. There are some big guys who are owning those vehicles. Even some therapy guys owning those vehicles. And even some council guys are owning those vehicles. So that's a challenge. Obviously, in that situation, when someone cannot really enforce the bylaws because they've got an interest. If you say the therapy go in, they've got an interest. If you say possibly this council official must go, some will be having an interest. It's a very difficult game that, but besides that, we are saying council must also make sure that they do their mandate to make sure that the bylaws are followed and respected. Anyone who doesn't, enforce. Simple.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I would say probably council is losing more than 5,000 because talking to people in the political circles, they're posting with when they've over 4,000 registered voters. I mean vendors, So if the 4,000 registered vendors, batala a day, that's 4,000. Versus imali ezithathwa emabhasini. Versus thatha imali ezithathwa kuma-Honda Fit. So it could be actually close to 10,000.
Yeah.
And many other people are running their shows in front of izitolo zabantu who pay rent.
Yeah.
So, Sibindi, how are we going to restore the city to what it used to be? How do we restore order in so much chaos?
I think we need to come back to our senses. I'm sorry, it may sound a very big term, but I really mean it. I think each and everyone has to come back to his or her own senses, and organism must come back and they make sure that, mind you, when these council officers were appointed, they are there to act on the mandate of the residents. That is to make sure that the bylaws are followed. When the therapy guys are there, they are there to make sure that they enforce the laws that are supposed to be enforced. If council is having challenges, it was the right to invite the therapy people to assist. So, to me, that's the only issue that should be done there. Because besides that, we will always have these problems. Let me now talk to politicians. In fact, we are in all these challenges because of politicians. I'm sorry to say that. These politicians are giving us a lot of problems. Those people in 5th Street and other areas that are so boastful that we are not moving any, it's because there's a hidden hand behind them. They know that. If possible, council tries to enforce their bylaws, they'll be told to stop. In fact, we still remember, a few months back, we know what happened. Council tried to enforce. They brought their security personnel, they brought those fire brigade vehicles who were trying to push away people using water. What happened? It just took about 1.5 hours. A directive came that stopped what they're doing. And unfortunately, some council officials, I think about 9 or not 11, they are still under the course. They're in course now to being charged for saying that whatever the charges. But the issue was, they were trying to do the business that they're employed to do. But now they're in court. Obviously, such a situation, if you say they go back and enforce, they won't. But to me, all that's politics. So we need to be politically correct and agree that when it comes to the issue of administration, those must be a standalone. When it comes to the issue of politics, let them be a standalone. I think our biggest problem, we don't separate issues. That's the problem. Umuntu engaba politician, abe lamandla, usefunda run council, usefunda run local government, usefunda run amapolisa, usefunda run ama-vendor. That's the problem. We are bundling these two together and are seeing now in that situation. So at times, omunye ugogo, I want to verify, ugogo omunye wathi ekhuluma sasise Eluveve, I remember very well, in a meeting, talk about these things. Wathi yena mntanami, nakhuleka ukuthi umlimi angenele la. Ngoba bonke abantu laba abakhona athi abasezikhundleni abangasincedisa abakhanyayo abasincede. Wakho umlizwe libuhlungu. Wazi wathi yena ngakuya ngami, umlimi ngawe uyavula igodi abaginye bonke kusala abanye abantu. To me, esintini that's a strong term. What that old dad was saying is tired about these things, about these people, and to her, he thinks they failed to do anything. And to her, she had no confidence anymore in these guys that they'll do anything. That's what you are saying, in short. So your question is a very difficult one to really answer because the corruption is inengakulu. Kwele is too much. Abantu bakhona bonke uyakuthemsuluto afike senzo kunyo wakhe. Banze bethanda imali futhi lokubribe uthi mina when I'm in charge la ngathi do this instead of umsebenzi wakhe ngamnika imali usethule. So it's a serious challenge, Mr. Ndebele. I don't have a specific answer to say what should we do.
Yeah, because we have agreed that the people who are messing up the town are not paying to anyone.
Yes.
Yet, most of the times, council will say, no, we are not providing service or are unable to provide service because residents are not paying.
Yes.
So, umuntu oselokichini is subsidizing ubuchapa obenziwe town.
Exactly. That's the problem. Let me say this other thing. I think watch what obona phana a trade called ebusuku. Kulokunye ongakubonanga, Mr. Ndebele, I must tell you. Go to 5th Avenue that I'm talking about. Look at the place that is just on more, that street from there, pull until you get to around TM, Lapana towards the opposite the Reserve Bank. There are people sleeping there. You're my bedroom, Baba. And where does those come from? I got a shocking thing because we made our small investigations. There are people who come here overnight. Ngamaroli. Bezothengisa ama-vegetables they like. There's nothing wrong with that. And those people come as far as some of them Manigaland, Maswingo, Mashonaland. And when they get here, we all know that when you bring your wares during those old good days when bought in to respect the law, you take the wares into the market, people buy from the market. But now those people, they sell from their trucks. You have to buy your roll, I think sell it pana. What they had 2-3 days. Ugu get happy, ugu to hama toilet. It's anyone's business. Totally anaseyithile obviously kwazi ama-vegetable ayonakala uzalahle okunye uthi waste management yakho uyangaphi uphonga uphosa phansi khona pha. After 3 days that person goes back. Ngifuna limbambe kuhle la. I'm not saying abantu bemaswingo emashongana bengabuyi bezothengisa la. Kulabantu abagijimela ukuthi ba-conclude wrongly. I'm not saying that. But I am saying mina labana nxa bebuyile sebenze that business. Bahlala 3 days akunganga emarket akungena ndawo. Beqeda sebethengise kweba ngena emotweni yabo bekuyele emuva. Tina as residents of law remain now meeting the cost of izinto zakhe eziphoswe phansi lapha. Say ungene le toilet engxenye emini lapha na that public toilet iyagezwa phela yenziwa yonke into lama chemicals. Tina as residents we send up meeting those costs. That's what we are concerning about. We are saying no, we need to kube le clear policy when those people come abafaka amawezi abe market. Ngoba bafaka market they pay a fee. Umuntu market pays rest to council. Meaning to say that the residents and the city is benefiting. But now we're not benefiting. Mulwana umuntu ofika engene esipayini sakho, abulala inkomo yakho, uthi uyakhuluma ukuchaya ngempama, asuke lapho, hambele inkomo yakho efileyo, ayithengisa le, engayiqeda phenduke phe khona usuzi lutho. That's exactly the scenario that we're talking about. And this is worrying. We can't allow this to happen. It must just be controlled.
I have a friend who stays a flat in the opposite Mkuza Rural District Council, the American space lapha.
Yes.
He used to park his car outside. And he ended up going to pay a garage because ebusuku imota yakhe yayisisiba ngumthunzi. So ngo4 ekuseni abantu bayabhoda ngemva kwemota yakhe begezele khonapho beyenzele yonke ingcekeza abafuna etoilet behambe. So yena uzathi evuke ethi uyavula imota enyathela ikaka for better bheketa right ngoba umuntu abecatshe ngemva kwemota yakhe. And this has gone on for a long time. People are sleeping in town, selling vegetables, something that is supposed to be fresh.
Yes.
And as the city, is there anyone concerned that all these issues need to be addressed?
I'll say yes or no. Why am I saying so? I think I'll go back again to council that I think our councillors or our council must have a clear statement on these issues. But as you are saying, yes, I hear them talking as individuals, get me right. But we don't want individualism now here. We want a council resolution to say that this is happening, it's wrong, this is the resolution. Because that's how council operates. But if somebody else, councillor for what one says this, councillor for what two says, condemning that, fair and fine, so it's all right. But those are individual sentiments. We want council resolution. So at least, when you've got a council resolution, it's easy even for these joke people to assist in trying to correct the situation, because we say, no, as council representatives, this, we have made the research, this is our findings, and this is what we have resolved. Can you please assist us to implement the resolution if those people are resistant? And then from there, we'll see how those people will behave. What you are saying is very right, but we cannot allow this thing to continue as it is. And after all, with what is happening there, anyone who has got this money wants to invest in Bulawayo. At the moment, we may be having problems because there are stores there that want to close in that particular area. Akusasebenzeki. Abantu bahlezi eminyango bathengisa into azithengisayo, abantu abangena lapha abanye bayathethiswa ukuthi unganyatheli into zami. Obviously, in such a situation, ansabuyele esitolo senza. And eventually, what does it mean? It means that if we are not careful as Bulawayo, izitolo zonke zana zizavalwa leza ezingale. Zingavalwa, their workers, they were supposed to be paid, abawathela ama-rates, basakuyanga. So these are serious situations. Singakuthatha lightly, but it's deeper than what the eye sees. So definitely, I think council must have resolutions. Not only that, the council is believe in another a very big dialogue. But these are stakeholders on the resident. If the could the resolution in that particular meeting, what's wrong? Call all the stakeholders. Even those vendors are going to resolution. Because to me, that's the only way. Abantu with this is not a council thing, but it affects us, our residents. We cannot be forking money. It's not fair. So all that we are saying, I think council must have some moves to try and engage each and every stakeholder to a very big meeting, which will come up with resolutions.
Yeah, we are going towards elections, and people are hoping to choose new councillors, new MPs. As we end this program, what would be your advice to abantu Bulawayo? What is the ideal councillor that people should vote for?
Bantu bakithi siyakuma election. Some of us are on record, time memorial as a BPRA on record to say that whenever we are electing a councillor, let me talk about the councillor, or even an MP, I don't care, either of the two. The bottom line is that make sure that we elect somebody whom we know. How do you know a person? You must understand his background. You must understand his involvement in the community activities. Not that he is coming now because he wants to be a councillor. No, there must be background to that. That person must also understand the culture of the people of Bulawayo. I know people will say that Bulawayo is a metropolitan city. It's true, but it is in Matebeleland. That alone speaks volume to say that you need somebody who will understand the culture of the people of Matebeleland, because that one you cannot run away from it. And when we are saying this, there are some people who say that we are not being tribalist. This is what local governance issues that I'm talking about. You can be from you can be a Shona person, Kalanga person, Venda person, as long as your roots are here, no problem. For instance, I'll talk about people like Mnyoros and the Nyakuzis. We know them. Those people were Shona people. But I will not be, no one will queer say that Usuketumdaga, Nyoruda, business. We understand my issues. That's why they've been here for years. But I have a problem with just get the background. I want very frank. We told him to vele letters and meeting guys I attend. Lokuthi njaka Chairperson society guys I chair. Lokuthi umuntu wakhona ngomba chair SDC guys I chair lutho. But if I'm councillor, kathi manje uvelanga uzafika enzeni ecounseling. And even so, I'm not trying to despise anyone. Some of them can't even read and understand. I'm sorry to say that. How does that person represent you? Or would ama-council means you go and argue and make resolutions, but go and look how loud. So I'm saying to people, bantu bakithi, ngicela sikhetheni abantu esibaziyo abalenkambo ecacayo ukuthi ngobulawa vele bavela ngaphi bayini bahambeni bancedise ngani ubulawayo lokho kucace kakahle abantu abazwisisa iculture yethu abantu futhi abalalelayo umuntu olalelayo ngilona umuntu osekwasebenza le community akho umuntu ophonguwa nje ungathi uvele esibhakabhakeni bodi pakla osevotelo. And I want to be very brutal and frank. I know most people who win in these local authorities and the MPs, they are people from political parties. That one is a fact, it's given. But I am saying the reasons of Bulawayo. If a political party this time around feels umuntu elingamaziyo ngela track record, please ignore that. Whether you like that, whether you are a member of that political party, please ignore that person. Look at the people who are there and pick the right person. All the times we are so blinkered to say, though, I belong to part A or to part B. No, let's open our minds now. Because in some of these things, we're in this mess because we close our eyes at the electoral people. I think abantu abadiniwe abantu benkosi. Abantu sebefuna abantu uthi sifaka abantu abaza add i-value. Mind you, you need people again who will make resolutions and control the managers. Managers bela ngabantu webhizileyo abafundileyo babona ngemfundo zabo ngabantu abale experience asebejwayele so ungahambisa umuntu sure vele ongazahlangane lempilo ongazaengage on anything ayithi mala managers meaning says that in the next 5 years bazaye manipulate sesikhala futhi kule corruption kanti noba manipulate abanye asiyo corruption vele kazwisisi ama issues bambhoda ngale bambrainwash bamfuqela into abayifunayo. So we need people who understand things and control managers when they want to make wrong decisions. Mind you, the decisions are made by council. Our managers are only there to implement those issues. So to me, you want just one thing, Mr. Ndebele. That one I want to be very frank. With us keten abantu abaright. Sesdiniwe. Sibulala idorobho lethu. Abantu abethu abazulu bethu abazazala ama generations to come. Abanye bazasikhafulela abakhafulela amahle amathe emangcwabeni ethu. Bese abantu abadala laba babala ngqondo yoba sitshela imesile. Some of us don't want to be part of that. As sense in this right.
I actually want to thank you on that note, which I think whatever we do this election, let's do it for our generation or for our younger generation. Because yes, we might still be having pictures of how the town looked like, but our kids will not know how the town used to be. They won't know that Kwagule rank. And there were places where people could go and buy. Since we now have everyone selling everywhere, a bus everywhere, and the town is breaking down. My buildings are going to and I just don't want to think how this town will look like in 10 years if we continue at the rate that we're continuing. We're actually destroying and not building. And I think we need to be embarrassed as a generation that we failed to keep what we inherited from the colonial government. Because we failed to maintain it right, and all what we have done is to destroy, and we keep destroying it by voting and we expect them to give us service. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. Till we meet again in other programs, have a good day.